evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Here's what's making news right now.
Supports are there for young people, and as a community, we need to start exploring what we're doing with respect to intervening in young people's lives in a timely and efficient manner.
We are actually in danger of closing. Based on our projected revenue, if we don't generate some income, we're going to be closing at the end of August.
We believe that it's absolutely important for purpose in life, and if we can help people, individuals, go back to work to get a skilled trade, to find that purpose in a setting that's supported and mentored, the success is very probable for them.
Thanks for joining us. The future of a local dance studio is up in the air. Windsor Dance Experience has had its doors open for nearly 20 years, but with on and off pandemic shutdowns and restrictions, it's now in a financial hole. As Jacob Barker reports, the studio was doing everything possible to sidestep closing for good.
These dancers are happy to be back on this floor.
It's amazing. The energy is always like 100% here. We all have a great time. And being active again, I feel like we were at home for 2 years.
It's been hard. I think a lot of us, our second home besides WDX is the stage and just the energy of especially the Capitol Theater. It's amazing.
And right now they are working to get back on that stage. It's been a long time.
December 2019, we closed our last Christmas show, and we haven't been able to perform on stage since then.
Without having been able to perform, this nonprofit has seen a big financial hit.
Most of our revenue is based on ticket sales, and we haven't been able to sell tickets since 2019. Our membership has also dropped by 50% because people just aren't getting out yet. So we are actually in danger of closing.
Chan says they have to raise an extra $18,000 by the end of July, holding fundraisers, applying for grants, and seeking out sponsorship. The studio is doing everything it can to keep its doors open.
We really think that it is a tangible goal, but it's going to be a lot of work.
As non-profit organizations, it might be a little bit more challenging because funding is a little bit more limited.
The gym isn't alone. Even the Arts Council, which advocates for the art community, has had trouble.
Since 2019, we haven't been able to have anyone in the gallery. And when you have people come in the gallery, that's also a good opportunity for donations and rentals, but that has just started literally like 2 weeks ago.
But Carnes says right now there are many different grants organizations can apply to. She's optimistic about the arts bouncing back.
To be honest, I think right now people are kind of finally doing the projects they wanted to do 2 years ago that have been rescheduled and rescheduled.
That type of excitement clear on the dance floor at Windsor Dance Experience.
We need theater, we need to enrich the cultural lives of Windsor, and we need a place for these kids to go to feel safe and perform and do what they love doing.
Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
1 year since it first opened its doors, Windsor's Hand in Hand Support is launching a new business to help clients get back to work. It's a tree service working with arborists to battle addiction and embarking on the next phase of their recovery. But that's just one part of a larger vision for the year ahead.
So our tree service is called Helping Hands Tree Service. We are certified fully insured, and what our idea is in that is to bring as many individuals responsibly into a work environment, learn how to do the trade under supervision, and learn how to manage life on life's terms.
They'll do things like tree removal, trimming, and hydroline cleaning. It launches this week. Over the past year, Hand in Hand has opened up 3 transitional homes in the city for men and women battling addiction, a safe place to heal. Devin Orton arrived here this past January after drugs knocked him off his feet.
It's changed my life 100%. I have my family back in my life now. I have opportunity, I have structure, I have routine.
He hopes to join the tree service team soon.
It's the next step to my recovery.
Beyond the new business, Hand in Hand is growing. It recently acquired this 2-acre property in Essex. A key feature, this large workshop.
I'll open up this whole shop all the way down into here, and then we'll have skilled trades come in and be able to do a pre-apprentice training for anybody that's graduated out of our transitional housing in Windsor.
A learning site that can also house up to 16 people right here.
So this is our advanced living home. Currently, we have 5 men living in this home, working on different programming, different meetings, life skills, and seeking employment, but also helping out to do the renovations of the shop.
Plus, it's tucked away.
So the complete 2-acre property is completely enclosed with large cedar trees to kind of keep us in our own little therapeutic community back here. It's just a really good environment for people to redefine themselves, find themselves again after being lost in addiction and mental health issues for the last X amount of years.
The goal is to have the actual shop up and running in the next 6 months to a year. Demand for their services has been strong. It's reflective of a community struggling with a drug epidemic, particularly since the onset of the pandemic. For Orton, it's helped him be excited for his future.
It's a structure. It's my life. You know, I just had a daughter. I want to be a father, and I just want to live a happy, normal life again with no pain, no hurt.
And as for the new tree service business, it's not just a way to get individuals back into the workforce. It'll also raise funds for a local charity chosen by each individual client. Police have named a suspect they believe was involved in the Forest Glade shooting. Fernando Ratcliffe is wanted by police in connection to the shooting of 5 people earlier this month. Ratcliffe is 22 years old, making him the oldest person police have connected to the shooting. 5 people have already been arrested, all young adults. And this comes as the police lean on a familiar community partner to curb youth crime. Windsor's acting police chief hopes early intervention through the program helps steer kids away from the court system. The program lead tells CBC's Chris Ensing that referrals are skyrocketing.
Youth Diversion Group has worked with police for decades, but that relationship now a priority.
Well, it's about tackling the problem of youth crime upstream, getting to it before it becomes an adult crime, right?
Frontline officers can refer teens or kids to the Youth Diversion Group instead of a criminal charge. In 2019, police saw 143 calls involving youth, more than half charged criminally, a quarter referred to youth diversion. Similar numbers in 2021. In 2020, a dip described as an outlier because of lockdowns caused by the pandemic. A referral to youth diversion puts kids in programs that hold them accountable and helps build up positive decision-making skills.
Because if we want a young person to stop, engaging in a certain activity, you can't just, scare them away from engaging in that. You have to look at what is contributing to them behaving in that way. What pressures are going on in their life?
She says referrals are skyrocketing.
There's some days where we have 3 or 4 referrals a day coming through, and we are truly inundated when it comes to the number of youth that we're seeing, and then of course some of the complexities that are associated with what's going on.
Those referrals come from police, schools, or parents, and the kids don't have to be involved in the court system. She says while each case is unique, a common theme continues.
Apologies for that technical issue there. As Russian forces intensify their attacks in eastern Ukraine, in the western city of Lviv, families are mourning the 7 people killed in yesterday's missile strikes. Katie Simpson revisits the scene where 4 civilians lost their lives.
There really isn't much left of this tire factory and auto body repair shop. And this is the exact spot where that Russian cruise missile struck. You can see there is a huge crater here. Debris is just sprayed everywhere. The crater is a good 2-3 meters deep. What we understand is that along this part of this building, this would have been a parking area. And we know that because there are cars and debris sort of scattered all around. But let's first take a look at this building. We're going to take a step over here. We have to be careful because there's still quite a bit of debris on the ground. From this wall right here, you can tell the structure is no longer stable, but still inside, there are people working here. There are people taking wheelbarrows of debris and getting them out. Just imagine, it was 8:30 in the morning when this missile struck. People were just starting their workday. They were inside this garage when they first heard the alarm sirens, and then, of course, the rocket struck. Now, There were a number of secondary explosions, according to witnesses we spoke with, and part of the reason why could be there were so many vehicles here. This is the level of destruction. You can see these vehicles have been completely destroyed, just completely obliterated in this blast. And one other thing to point out here, there's lots of coffee here because people honestly have been working around the clock. They're exhausted. Air raid sirens have been ringing at all hours of the night, and this has been a horrific experience here at this shop. Now, we want to show you there's a growing memorial for the people who died at this site, and we're learning a little bit more about the victims. Right beside where the huge crater is here, the people who work here, the owner, they've lit candles for the 4 employees who were killed and 1 employee who is injured very seriously, we understand. The owner told us that the youngest of the victims here is a 19-year-old man. The other 3 victims, men, they were all married. One of them had a 6-year-old child. People here, understandably, are distraught. These are the first victims to be killed in this conflict in Lviv, a reminder that no parts of Ukraine are safe, even in the west, where there's been less violence. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Lviv.
To provincial news now, Ontario's Liberals are making a big promise. They're pledging to tackle gun violence by banning handguns, and it comes just days before the kickoff of the election campaign. Lisa Shing has the latest.
No more empty rhetoric, no more delays. We will move forward. We will deliver a handgun ban.
To fight gun violence, a platform announcement from Liberal leader Stephen Del Duca. If elected June 2nd, his government would ban the sale, possession and storage of handguns in Ontario. The Liberals would also take up Ottawa's funding for a buyback program and partner with the feds to stop gun smuggling. Though Del Duca acknowledged most shootings in the Greater Toronto area involve illegal guns.
1 death in this province that I'm running to lead, 1 death by virtue of a legal handgun is 1 death too many.
It sends a message, unfortunately, to the people who suffer most from illegal firearms that happen to mostly live in marginalized communities, that our lives don't matter as much as that one person.
Some community leaders say a ban isn't the right approach.
These are issues like mental health not being addressed, a lack of resources in certain communities.
This gun owner and head of the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights agrees.
It's not the guns themselves. It's problems like mental illness and all these social determinants of bad behavior. There are 640,000 people in Canada that have gone through a lot of work to be licensed to own handguns, and they do so responsibly.
Some gun control advocates applaud the move, but
the idea of having provinces do this is a really bad idea and really bad for gun control, because even if one province does it, that doesn't do anything to counter the proliferation of handguns in other provinces.
Stephen Del Duca blames Doug Ford's government for not doing more to fight gun violence, but the province tells me since most of the guns used in shootings are illegal, it's focusing its efforts there and also putting money into anti-gang intervention programs. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
After spending the last few years fundraising for the Windsor Cancer Centre Foundation, an Essex resident now finds herself on the flip side as a patient. Brooke Spitz was on maternity leave from her job as the foundation's fundraiser when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Her newborn son was only 4 months old at the time, and she's been sharing her cancer journey online and hopes her posts will help people in a similar position.
After I stopped breastfeeding, and when I kind of woke up from the fog of new motherhood, I decided I should go get it checked out. The lump was still there. So I went to get it checked out. I had some tests done, and it was diagnosed as stage 1 breast cancer. Last year, I was raising funds for breast reconstruction equipment. And this year, I actually needed that equipment myself. Last year, we also fundraised for new chairs for the waiting rooms. And this year, my dad was sitting in one at my chemo appointment with me. So it's just so surreal. And I guess I'm just trying to help people realize that 2 things. 1, cancer isn't always as scary as we think it is. And everyone just has to try to stay positive, I guess. And then also the funds that we raised through the Windsor Cancer Centre Foundation, I can now vouch that patients really do use those the equipment that we fund and the items that we fund to make the journey better. It's helpful to know that I can look back on this one day, hopefully when I'm somewhere far away from the word cancer with myself, and I can look back and see how far I've come and hopefully see how many people I helped.
The orange flag hoisted outside the Sikh community got a little brighter over the weekend, and that's because each year during the spring festival of Vaisakhi, the fabric is replaced and re-raised. Our Jacob Barker was at the ceremony this weekend to find out the meaning behind the nearly 40-meter tall flag.
We just doing the seva of the Nishan Sahib. It is a symbol of the Sikhism. So every year on Vaisakhi, which is the birthday of the Sikhism, Singhs. So on that day we just go with that.
Did you help to wrap it?
Yeah, all of all the people, all the sevadas, they help to wrap it up. Now they're tying it up, and then they just gonna lift it up, and it's gonna fly.
What used to happen is the cities or the towns used to have Nishan Sahib, which used to raise high, and people could see from far that there's a Gurdwara Sahib, that my Guru is there, I can go worship there. That's the big symbol why we fly so high.
Why do you think it's important to raise it in a place like Windsor?
Because here's our Guru resides here. Our Guru is here. Wherever our Guru is going to be, Nishan Sahib is going to be with the Guru. And this is like in our terminology, we call it Chola Sahib. Chola Sahib di seva. And that's why it's not hard work. It's not for us anything. It's like we do it when it is needed. And this is our Nishan Sahib, and that's the Chola for the Nishan Sahib.
You can see it far away. You can see it from Manning Road, where the Gurdwara. A lot of truck driver tells us when they come down from Toronto, they said it's very easy to find this place. Wow. We are helpful. We want to help them out. When somebody needed help, we got food. We have a shelter here. Some drivers comes and take a shower here. If they come here, they tell our volunteer, pack the food for me. I'm going on a trip. I needed 2 days of supply, and they pack it for them.
Let's take a live look outside at the Ambassador Bridge. The sun appears to be peeking through the clouds there. It was gray for most of the day and quite chilly as well. We do have a chance of showers or maybe flurries instead overnight, if I dare say it. And we do have some sunshine promised for tomorrow, though. Colette will be here after the break with a look at the week ahead. Stay with us. that I join everybody in saying that please don't say that more snow is on the way after yesterday's traumatic experience.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that more snow is on the way. I'm just not ready to say more snow is not on the way. Is that right? It's just that we're really in that storm track. We have been through the spring. So the chance, is it still there? Yes, it is. But what I'm seeing kind of as we look ahead here in the short term, and we're really going to see those temperatures kind of rebounding. And in fact, in some cases, in sort of spectacular fashion. So let's not worry too much about it. Mostly we're talking about some rain events that are going to be coming through next. These are your current temperatures and what they look like. London, Kitchener today, just kind of some somewhat miserable conditions with the winds, the temperatures being so cool, and then getting some of this lake effect that we've been seeing as well. These are some of the wind gusts still hanging in there, and you can see towards Kitchener-Waterloo how much stronger they are. They have been easing, and the special weather statement, of course, was dropped much earlier here, but still seeing that in place as those winds will be gusty up till close to midnight before they really fall off further. And that's why with the influence of the lake, seeing that lake effect here into, it's not even, I really can't say mid-April, we're getting closer to the end of April, aren't we? But that is the big picture with that northwesterly flow. Now, as we look ahead into the evening hours, still a few little sprinkles or wet flurries possible this evening for Windsor, Sarnia, Chatham, Kent through Leamington. However, we'll get into clearing through the overnight. We will see that clearing. Sunshine tomorrow through most of the day. The sun's setting after 8 though now, so before it sets, that's when we'll start to see the clouds rolling in. We get into some rain overnight Wednesday. It lingers but is lighter into Thursday morning, and then by Thursday afternoon, I think even by midday, we'll be seeing it starting to peel away. And so Thursday's kind of a split decision on the sky conditions. The second half of the day will be looking good. A look at those wind gusts. So they ease up for us overnight, but then what happens is when that system comes in late tomorrow, those winds will be kicking up. So overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning, some strong winds back again. Tonight's temperatures, yes, you're really seeing that negative there, -3 to -4. It's going to be a cool start tomorrow. Luckily, we get to double digits, and then have a look at some of these numbers, especially as we get towards the weekend where the temperatures are going. So complete opposite direction, Kath.
Yeah, no kidding. 26 degrees. That's wild. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
When we come back, we're going to take a look at how the impact of a severe lockdown in China is being felt here in Canada. Stay with us.
welcome home.
Welcome back. For weeks now, millions in China's largest city have been dealing with the challenges of living under a severe COVID-19 lockdown. But the economic pains of the continued shutdown in Shanghai are being felt as far as Canada, and it's having an effect on the global trade and manufacturing sector that relies heavily on China. Julia Wong looks at the ongoing disruption in the city with the world's busiest port.
It's all taking a toll on Shanghai's titanic economy, nearly $900 billion last year. Corporate giants like General Motors, PepsiCo, and Qualcomm have big operations there, and the container port is second to none. The lockdown has caused delays there that are felt by manufacturers and consumers everywhere, including in Canada.
A lot of electronics, auto parts, and so on are coming through Shanghai. They go through that port, and it's just a bottleneck.
This Chinese automaker and Tesla are preparing to reopen, with most employees living on site. But others, like a major supplier for Apple, are temporarily suspending operations in China.
It's going to be a continued wild ride, I would say, and so people will have to adjust their buying patterns accordingly.
There is no end in sight for the lockdown, so Canadian consumers could see delays for some time.
This, if it could end even within a month, we would still see this persisting for 3 months before it would get back to some kind of a normal flow. There's no guarantee it's going to end that quick.
Experts say companies could look to move business out of China, and there could be other impacts.
This has a long-term isolating effect on China. It also may have a social political dimension if this goes on too long.
As China wrestles with gaining control over COVID and also sustaining its economy. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
Not exactly an Olympic event, but dog owners had some fun commemorating an Olympic anniversary in Munich, Germany. Dachshunds and their owners gathered in honor of Valdi, the wiener dog, the first official mascot created to promote the Olympic spirit. And that was at the Munich Games in 1972. Some pups turned out in colorful sweaters and coats resembling the original mascot's design. A Saskatchewan man has collected the biggest lottery jackpot in his province's history and in the Western Canadian Lotto region. He picked up his $70 million in winnings today.
You think when you're joking around at work, like, well, I'm going to go do this and this and this, but then when reality hits and it's your mind's just a fog of what the hell's going on, like you don't, those thoughts just go out the window right away because you don't know how to process it.
Dale McEwen bought his winning ticket at a gas station when he and his family were traveling through Alberta earlier this month, and he checked the ticket the next day, but took a few weeks before coming forward. The Regina truck driver says the lottery win means he's hanging up his keys after 28 years. That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.